Good evening, Beaverton Family Chiropractic family. We are here again for another webinar. Starting to get the hang of this, so hopefully it goes as smoothly tonight as it has been. So, welcome. As we begin, if someone could just chime in the little chat box and let me know if you can hear me, that would be most excellent. And we'll continue on from there. And with that, let's keep going. So I welcome you to Jumpstart, the path to a healthy mind. And we're going to be talking tonight a little about some heady stuff, literally. And so there's going to be some work that you need to do outside of our time together. So we're going to be talking about some things um, tonight to lay the foundation for some homework that you're going to need to do. Really, this is for you. So as we continue on, always a little bit about myself. I've been doing this for a very long time. Put my slides here. So, been in practice 29 years as of this month. So, a big blessing to be able to do that. And looks like, again, I'm getting some feedback. So, great. Glad you can hear me. And really, it's been my passion over the years to really empower individuals and families to live a healthier life. And so, people might be going, well, you're a chiropractor. Why are you talking about mind stuff? And probably the simplest thing is it's all connected. The brain runs and controls everything, and so if the brain can't communicate to the body, that's a problem. If the body can't communicate to the brain, that's a problem. We have a saying in our office. I can't take credit for it, but hurt people hurt people. So as a chiropractor, what our focus then is, giving people some tools to live as healthy of a life as possible, so then they can be able to live as healthy a life as possible. But there's some research actually that shows that chiropractic actually can decrease the stress on the overall system of the body. So the less stress there is on the body, the more the body is able to adapt to the environmental stresses and strains and be able to focus more on what's going on in the system. I know that we are, as we approach the end of the first quarter here, many people that had set New Year's resolutions have actually already given up on them. And I always think that this is kind of a funny saying here. My goal for 2021 is to accomplish the goals from 2020, which I should have done in 2019 because I promised them in 2018 and, of course, planned them in 2017. You get the idea, right? There are times where we create these ideas of what we want, but then we never really commit to acting on them. So one of the biggest challenges that we find with patients, and I'm in the same category, so I'm kind of with you. I love teaching this workshop or any workshops because I get to hear myself tell myself what I should be doing as well. But in order to be able to make a plan of where we want to go, we first have to understand where we are, right? If you're in Chicago and you want to go to Disneyland, if you head due south, you're not going to come anywhere close, right? You have to go west and then south. Now, if you're in Oregon and you head due south, you have a better chance of hitting it, right? So you have to know where you are in the first place. So when we start talking about the mind and the mindset and really kind of where we want to go, we have to ask ourselves some honest questions. These are questions that don't have judgment, just fact information. Where are we right now? I weigh X number of pounds. I have X dollar in my pocket or my savings account. I work so many hours a week. I volunteer. You get the idea. Where are we right now at this exact moment in time? Again, it's not a judgment. It's just facts. You may not like where it is, but the reality is that we are where we are, right? So, for example, right now, we're still in a pandemic. We may not like where we are. We may not like the situation, but the reality is that's where we are. And so we have to take that approach in all areas of our life and say, okay, if this is where I am, now we can start making some changes. Now, what I find a lot of times when people start this process, that they start feeling guilty. They start feeling ashamed. But what we have to understand too is that the stresses and the strains, or again, the scars that you've had in the past, are really going to be the tools that are going to leverage to the successes that you're going to have in the future. So I want to encourage you, don't judge yourself for where you are. Just accept that as where you are. And then realize if we want to make some changes, now we know where to move from. So the next step is, where do I want to go? Or what do I want to accomplish? Or what do I want to have happen different in my life? And so this is where we then now start to look down the road into the future. Where do we want to go? But the challenge is for people not always even figuring out what it is that they want, but they don't create enough leverages to be able to make the reason to be able to move towards that. So, one of the things that sometimes can be helpful is to actually ask yourself, what happens if I don't accomplish some of the steps? Now, as an example, if a person wants to lose weight, if they don't lose, so let's say they're overweight, whatever that is, maybe they're obese. Well, we know from science that if a person's obese or overweight, that their risk of getting cancer and heart disease and diabetes are a lot greater than a person that's not. And so the consequence of not making changes in that situation are chronic health issues, early death, painful experience. And so that same model then can be used in all areas of our life. If I don't make changes in my life today, what's my family going to look like? What's my income or my savings going to look like? What's my living situation or my family dynamics? And the list I have there is just a few different things, but the bottom line is sit down, and I've done this before, where you get out actually a journal or a pad of paper and a pen and just write down, if I do not make these changes, what's my life look like? And allow yourself to go deep and allow yourself to go dark, because if you don't really acknowledge not changing, it's going to be hard to create the leverage to change. What's interesting is that if nothing changes, nothing changes. If you keep doing what you're doing right now, you're going to keep getting the same results that you have. And if that's not what you want, then that's kind of the definition of sanity, right? Doing the same thing over and over again and expecting different results. So you have to look at life differently. If you've been doing the same thing over and over again, you're not getting the changes that you want in your life, that's insanity. So we've got to do things different. Again, what we tend to find with people is that they start going, well, it's too late for me. You don't know my situation. You don't know where I've come from. But the reality is that no matter what happens in life, you can always start over. We see this in nature all the time. We see this in people that are successful. The average entrepreneur fails 5 times before they make it quote unquote big. And so don't get discouraged if you're not where you want to be. Again, identify where you are, and then through the discussion we're having tonight, then we can start making a plan about where we want to go. I think the biggest challenge that I find in talking with patients about this situation is not having enough leverage to be able to get through the tough times on the way to what they want. We call that your big why. So here's my why, one of my whys, and this is my family. My father has passed away, as has my stepmother. I'm the oldest of 5 children, and I'm now begrudgingly, I guess, or maybe I'm an honored, I don't know, but I'm the patriarch of the family, and I feel like it's too young for that to be happening. And so I want to be around for my family. I want to be around to watch my children to continue to mature, and as they start their families, and be available to be able to hang out with their grandchildren and be able to spend more time with my children as adults, and interact with my siblings and their children, and my nieces and nephews, and then in the office continuing to serve and be able to be here. But I can't do that if I don't train, meaning I don't exercise or I don't spend time on my craft at the office. And so whatever that is for you, again, we've got the leverage of what happens if we don't change, but now we have to figure out why we do want to change. And it's not just I want to lose weight. It's like, well, why do I want to lose weight? Well, we just talked about if we're overweight, then our risk of diabetes can be high. Okay, so I don't want diabetes. Great. So why not diabetes? Well, I don't want to be on the medications. Okay, so why? Well, the medications can affect life expectancy. It can cause other complications and side effects. So we have to dial it deeper and deeper and deeper. What is the key thing that you're really trying to get to? Another example I can use is that oftentimes when a patient comes into the office, they'll come in with a headache or a back pain. It's like, okay, that pain is interfering with their ability to live their normal everyday life. So it's not really the headache that's the problem. It's uncomfortable, don't get me wrong. And it's not even the low back that's the issue. It's that those aches, those pains are now interfering with someone's being able to live their life. Maybe they can't concentrate, so they can't work very well. Or maybe they get a migraine headache and they lose a couple days of work a week or even a month. Or maybe they don't feel like being the parent that they want to be or they can be because they just don't feel good. Remember, I said hurt people hurt people. And so we have to really dig down deep there. Again, this phrase down here at the bottom, that's one of my whys. My grandfather died a couple years before I was even born, so I never met him. My father passed away almost 9 years ago, and there's been two of his grandchildren, a niece and a nephew that have been born that he's never met. And so I don't want to be that one. I want to be around for my children and my children's children. And if I'm blessed enough to be able to see my great grandchildren, that would even be awesome. But the choices I make today are going to determine the chances of that down the road. How? This is the big thing. So once we've determined what it is that we want, which is the easy part, we've given ourselves leverage as to why we want it, the how can actually become kind of simple. And so what we need to realize is that every day it's a battle for our time, our money, our mind. We're constantly being bombarded. You can't get on social media or watch TV without multiple areas of influence coming at you saying, do this, do that, do the other thing, or maybe your neighbors, or maybe your family, whatever that is. And so we have to find a way to create peace. Now, here's the crazy thing. We look at all of these successful entrepreneurs or business people or celebrities, so Warren Buffett or Oprah Winfrey or whatnot, but realize they have the exact same 24 hours in a day that you and I have. Think about that. They have the exact same 24 hours in a day that you and I have. It's what we do with those 24 hours that can determine where we go. Now, different people have different opportunities. I'm not going to go down that path. That's a whole discussion in and of itself. But time is the great equalizer. So how we utilize our time is really the stewardship that we have that transcends all economic, all races, all everything. We all have 24 hours. So how we use it's the key. Well, a hint that we have is looking at the solid yellow lines in our day, in our schedule. So we know that with driving, we have the solid yellow lines in the road, and that means that we're not supposed to cross over. So what that means then is we stay in our lane. So if we apply that then to our daily activities and we look at how we schedule our time, we can start then putting together a calendar with that mindset of the solid yellow lines. So I haven't put yellow lines around everything, but bear with me here for a minute and kind of walk with me. Not sure if you can see my mouse. I'm just kind of flay it about this computer screen. But let's say, for example, you work Monday through Friday from 8 to 5 p.m., 8 a.m. to 5 p.m. Well, on your calendar, let's put in the givens. We know that we're going to be at work from 8 to 5 or 9 to 6 or whatever. Well, those are times that we've already got budgeted in the week. We know that we typically go to church on Sunday. Maybe we're there at 9:30 or 9 o'clock and we're there till 12 or 12:30. Or maybe on Saturdays, our kids have sports. And so we know that we've got a soccer game or a baseball tournament or what have you. Or maybe we've got a meeting on Tuesday nights where we go there every week or every other week. Whatever that is, start with a calendar and put in the times that you know that are committed. Once you've done that, then put in some of the things that you know you typically do. Again, a commitment would be work, maybe church, your kids' soccer games, dinner time. So you typically eat at 6 or 7 or 6:30, or based on schedules, maybe it's a split shift between mom and dad. Maybe the kids eat at 5:30, mom and dad eat at 6:30. I don't know what that is for you, but the whole point is by looking at your day and your week at a time, you get an idea of what's the committed hours. And what's funny is that when you take a step backwards and look at what you've committed to, you're going to realize that you have a few hours per week that you really don't have allocated for anything. So what that means is that you have the potential. I'm not saying that you're doing this. Uh, I have the potential as well to waste those hours. It's interesting for me when I get to the end of a Sunday and I kind of go, wow, there's all this time I could have done this, or I should have done these, and I had these things ready for Monday. If I would have allocated my time better on a Friday afternoon, on a Saturday or Sunday, I might be able to finish my weekend feeling at peace with what I've gotten accomplished and ready for the next week ahead, instead of starting the week behind and anxious about things that I haven't gotten done. And so this is this task or this procedure is really something that's good to do on a weekly basis. In fact, my wife and I will typically sit down at some point, either a Saturday or a Sunday night, to say, okay, what's coming up on the week ahead? What do we have going on? And we'll utilize that to plan, dinners, or maybe we know we're going to be on the run, so we have to do something different for a meal that night. Or this particular week, maybe I'm teaching a workshop on the internet, and so our schedules are going to be slightly different. This is extremely valuable if we have families, right? So maybe you've got 2 or 3 kids, and it's like, okay, Johnny goes over here and Susie's over there, and I don't know where Billy's going to go. So by talking together as a family in advance, we're not caught with, oh, who picked up Bobby? And so this is a really helpful way. Now, you don't have to use an Excel spreadsheet like this. You can use a Google Calendar. The cool thing about Google, or I think the Apple system has something as well, but you can have a calendar with multiple different people on it. So you can have, for me, I have an office calendar, and I've got a family calendar, and I got a personal appointment calendar, and I have a calendar for things that my wife is doing. So we kind of can coordinate. We know where everybody's going to be. This is where the real success can begin. Now, one of the things that can be easy to do is we put all this time in figuring out where we are. We start looking at where we want to go. We get enough leverage and create a big enough why, and now we've got the how, we've got a plan, but then we stop. It's like, well, I've done it, so I can be finished now, but we need to implement the plan. Well, the way to be the most successful in implementing the plan is to actually have accountability. So involve your friends. Get people that you trust that can come alongside you and support you. Maybe encourage you, or kick you in the pants to kind of keep you moving. Again, these are people that you trust to do it with honor and with love. But get people involved with you. In fact, if you can find someone that can come along with you, or even 2 people, ideally, that bond of 3 people is hard to break. And so by each of the 3 of you holding each other accountable and supporting each other through the journey, it's going to make it a lot easier. And they can help encourage you during the tough times and help remind you of your why, of the reasons you're doing this. And that is probably the secret sauce, if you will, as far as being successful in this. And this is one of the reasons why so many people fail on their New Year's resolutions, is that they get this motivation. It's the end of the year. I know that when January 1st comes out, I'm going to make all these changes, and they start making these plans and they start writing things down. But then they don't have accountability, or more often they don't have the support. They don't have good leverage. And so then they start to fail, and then they get discouraged, and then they give up, and they don't want to do it next year. And they create this terrible whirlpool cycle of negative processes. But the reality is, let's do something different, right? And we don't have to wait till January 1st to start a goal or make a change in your life. I would encourage each of you, as you sit down through this journey, don't pick the next 50 things that you want to get done between now and the middle of June. Pick 1 or 2 areas, 1 or 2 things that you really want to change. Maybe you want to re-landscape your backyard. Maybe you want to lose some weight, or achieve a healthier weight goal, whether you're raising or lowering your weight. Maybe you want to get off medications, or maybe you want to spend more time with your family, and maybe you want to change your job, whatever that is, pick one or two things and then start working through the process of what do I need to do different? Because if it was just a matter of doing what you're doing, you'd already get what you want. But if you're not achieving what you want or you don't have what you want, you got to make some changes. So figure out is where you are, figure out what you want to move towards, give yourself leverage to do that, create a peace plan to get there, and then get some friends involved. So what does that look like? Well, it's simple. Change the button the right way. So where do we start? Well, we're going to go. It can look daunting, right? It can just be like this young child going, how do I get up to the top of these stairs? Well, so simply put, as a chiropractor, I'm going to mention, hey, let's start with the nervous system, right? So if you are not currently under chiropractic care, and we just talked as we began that a healthy body is able to deal with the stresses and strains better, hurt people. So if you haven't been checked by a chiropractor or not in a corrective care chiropractic, you got to start there. The next thing then is to, again, repetition is the key. So I'm going to say this again. Where am I? Ask yourself, where am I? Do this without judgment. It's not a matter of right or wrong. It's not a matter of good or bad. It just is. You weigh X number of weight, period. Like it, love it, hate it, despise it, doesn't matter. It's how much you weigh. It's a place to begin. Once we've got that, the next step is where do we want to go? It's always easy to use weight as an example, but let's say we want to have a new career, right? So right now, my job is maybe I work at a coffee shop. Great friends that work at coffee shops and even own coffee shops. But maybe your ultimate goal is you would like to be an RN or, hey, a chiropractor, right? So where am I right now? Well, I need to get some college. I've got X number of years of junior college. Where I want to go is to be a chiropractor. So I know that I need to have a certain number of classes to get my first degree, apply to chiropractic college, and move from that point forward. So those are some good things. That's where we're going to. Then why do we want to do that? Why do we want to change our career? Why do we want to lose the weight? Why do we want to travel? Why do we want to spend time with our grandchildren? That's really where you have to look at. And then from there, we have to put together the peace plan. This is what's going to make it work. And then, of course, get your friends involved to support you on that journey. Here's the thing you have to understand. Your future needs you. Your past doesn't. The past is over. The past is judgment, and the past is despair in some cases. It's worry. Don't give the past any more attention than it's already gotten. Start fresh today. You are where you are today because of the choices that you've made. That doesn't mean that tomorrow is going to be the same unless you make the same choices. If you want a different outcome, take different action. So, shorter workshop tonight, and that's intentional because I really want you to spend some time on your own processing this. Again, it's short enough that I'd like you to go back and watch it again, and maybe watch it again within the next couple of days, watch it again within the next month. And when you find yourself kind of getting stuck with that why, pull this up, watch it again. It's going to be archived on our Facebook page. It's going to be on our YouTube channel page. It's always going to be there. If you have any questions, feel free to email the office. You can send your inquiries to bfc@beavertonfamilychiropractic.com. That's bfc@beavertonfamilychiropractic.com. So with that, I will bid you adieu. I wish you a well weekend. Thank you for your time today, and feel free to share this with other people. And we look forward to seeing you next time. Keep an open eye on our website for our next workshop. Until then, take care and God bless.